Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Turbot. I'm the Public Information Officer with the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's virtual training series, Moving Forward with Confidence, Understanding Your Unemployment Insurance Benefits. This series was created based on your feedback, and we're excited to bring you topics that matter most to you. Be sure to check out our website at dws.wyo.gov/VTS. We're going to drop that link in the chat right now. And you can check out upcoming sessions, register for sessions, and see recordings of past events. Um, Today's session is being recorded, and the slides and the recording as well will be available on our site within a few days. If you do have questions during the presentation, just pop them into chat and our presenters will answer them at the end of the hour. You can put your questions in the chat or use the Q&A feature, and we will address them at the end. But I do want to remind you, keep questions general. We really can't address specific claims due to potential privacy concerns. However, if you do have other questions, very specific questions, please reach out to 307-473-3789 for unemployment insurance claims. Or for appeals, you can call 307-235-3299. Now let's dive in. Please join me in welcoming today's speakers, Amy Hauk, UI Benefits Manager, Kay Brown, UI Claims Supervisor, and Jonna Strader, Senior Hearing Officer for Appeals. And we're going to go ahead and start with Amy and Kay, and I will move to the next slide.
All right, good morning and welcome. We are going to dive into unemployment insurance benefits, understanding your rights and responsibilities. Next slide, please. So we're going to give a little bit of background on the history of unemployment insurance first. Next slide, please. All right, the history of unemployment. As a result of the estimated 11 to 15 million unemployed Americans that suffered from the Great Depression, the Social Security Act of 1935 established the Unemployment Insurance Program. Unemployment is unique. It is administered as a federal-state partnership under both federal and state statutes, and it is financed by UI tax contributions from employers. It provides temporary benefits to eligible job-seeking unemployed workers, and it helps cushion the economic downturns and stabilizes the economy. Next slide, please. The basic eligibility for unemployment benefits, and this will go into these more in depth as we proceed. To be eligible for unemployment benefits, claimants must meet these requirements. They must be unemployed through no fault of their own. They must be able, available, and actively seeking work by submitting a resume or application for 2 or more jobs each week. They must register for work with the nearest state job service within 14 days, unless they are otherwise exempt due to being job or union attached or being in approved training. They must have earned enough wages in the base period to qualify. They must file weekly continued claims timely. They must return any requested documentation promptly and attend any mandatory appointments such as RESEA. Next slide, please.
Good morning. Now we'll discuss the life cycle of a claim. Next slide. The unemployment process starts with the claimant filing their initial claim. An initial claim is filed over the phone with a customer service representative or in the UI Claims Center or online via the website. During the initial claim process, we collect demographic data, employment history, and necessary fact-finding information. If the claimant has worked in any other states, if they've been out of state, or if they work for any federal or military employers, we request those wages electronically to add those to the claim. After the initial claim is filed, we send notification to the claimant and any employers that are involved on the claim. We notify the claimant of their requirements, their responsibilities, and their eligibility. And we notify the last employer and any base period employers that a claim has been, that the claim's been filed, and what their potential charges are. We also request any separation information and deductible income from the last employer. And then next, we investigate and resolve any monetary discrepancies, such as a missing or incorrect wages or a missing employer. We also adjudicate any separation and other non-monetary issues. While we are taking care of these aspects of the claimant needs to file their weekly continued claims for payment. Continued claims can be filed online via WYUI or by paper if they're attending school. If all requirements have been met and the claimant is eligible for payment, it is made via a U.S. bank debit card or direct deposit. Periodically, eligibility reviews are sent to claimants. Claimants are also selected for reemployment services such as in-person RSEA appointments. Those are done at local workforce centers. Both eligibility reviews and reemployment services are mandatory and must be completed. If an employer disagrees with the charges on their account because of the unemployment claim that's been filed, they can protest their charges. We will investigate and determine if charging is appropriate upon receipt of the protest. Quarterly, we send charging statements to employers to inform them of who collected benefits and how much of their account is being charged for those benefits. Next slide. During the first 14 days of the claim, to ensure your claim is processed without delay, you must complete these steps immediately. Read the rules. You are legally responsible for knowing the regulations. The handbook can be downloaded at wyui.wyo.gov, and also read the benefit rights information that's available on that site. You must register for work within 14 days. Wyoming residents register at hirewyo.com. Out-of-state residents register at your local workforce center, or you can go to careeronestop.com. Complete your registration requirements. That may include uploading a resume for whatever state, whatever their requirements are. And send proof to Wyoming via fax at 307-473-3745. Also, you'll receive a statement of wages. It's important that you review your wages. Check the listed employers and the wages and make sure everything's correct. If anything is incorrect, file a wage protest immediately using the instructions on the back of the form. Next slide. Your claim runs on a Sunday to Saturday schedule. To stay eligible, file your continued claim for payment. You will do that every week, including the first week you applied. I recommend doing that. Get in the habit of just filing that on every Sunday. You must file it within 15 days of the Saturday weekend date. Waiting longer may result in a denial. And you must report your gross earnings before taxes for any week that you worked, even if you haven't been paid yet. This includes tips, vacation, bonus, and severance pay. Next slide. Unless the agency determines that you are job attached or union attached or in an approved training program, you must be able and ready and available for work every day of the week. You must actively look for work and meet the work search requirements by submitting an application or resume with 2 or more jobs each week. You may also meet your eligibility requirements by meeting with a Department of Workforce Services career planner, attending a reemployment RSEA appointment or a WIOA appointment. Interviewing for a job counts as a work search. Attending a job fair sponsored by DWS and submitting an application or a resume there. And also attending an appointment with a core WIOA partner. Self-employment, seeking work for self-employment is not acceptable as a work search contact for unemployment purposes. The agency will review and verify all work search information. We may audit your records at any time. Keep a detailed log. Track the date, method of contact, company's name and address, the person you spoke to, and the result of that contact. Again, the agency can audit these at any time, so keep those records. Attend any meetings that you are scheduled for. If you're scheduled for a reemployment meeting, that's a RSAA meeting. Attendance is mandatory. Missing these will stop your benefits. Next slide. All claimants who are not otherwise exempt are periodically sent eligibility review forms to ensure that they continue to meet all eligibility requirements and receive unemployment benefits. Those work searches are verified by the agency. Claimants who are not otherwise exempt have a high probability of exhausting their benefits are selected to attend an in-person reemployment services and eligibility assessment. These appointments are conducted at the local workforce centers, and they're to help with any barriers or obstacles that may happen to make you to become more employable. Work searches, those are also reviewed by RSAA staff. Next slide. Payments and communication. Payments are made via direct deposit or debit card. The debit card will be sent to you in the mail, and they usually arrive within 2 weeks. Keep the card even if you aren't immediately eligible or if you're not going to use it. They will be used for future payments or if for some reason a direct deposit is returned to the agency. If there's an issue, like a separation issue or an eligibility issue, you may receive a questionnaire or a phone call. Respond immediately to those just to avoid any delays or denials on your claim. If you stop filing for 6 consecutive weeks, your claim becomes inactive. You must reopen or reactivate it in order to start receiving payments again. And update any information. If you move, update your phone number, you need to change your password. You can do that online under Update Claimant Profile. If you need help for password resets or claimant questions, call the Unemployment Claims Center at 307-473-3789. Hours are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. and Wednesday, 8 to noon. Make sure you're providing correct information. Providing false information or failing to report earnings can lead to overpayments, garnishments, all the way up to criminal prosecution. Next slide. And we're going to turn it back over to Amy.
All right. There are 2 different categories of eligibility for unemployment. There's the initial eligibility, which is making sure that you meet the base period wage requirements and also that you're unemployed through no fault of your own. And then there is continued eligibility for each week. We make sure that you are actively looking for work, that you're able and available for work, and that you are reporting any earnings that you're receiving. Next slide, please. First, we're going to dive into the monetary eligibility requirements. Next slide, please. So the amount of unemployment that is payable out to an individual, it depends on the wages earned during the base period from employers that are covered by the Wyoming Employment Security Law. We've got a picture on this slide, and the base period for a claim is the first 4 of the last 5 completed calendar quarters preceding the one in which the initial claim is filed. So if you look at that chart, if you filed during one of the quarters on the right that's in yellow, then the base period will be the shaded area to the left that's in blue. Currently, right now, since we are in May, we are looking at a base period of the entire calendar year of 2025. To qualify for an unemployment claim, a claimant must meet the following criteria. They have to have wages in at least 2 quarters in that base period. They have to have 1.4 times the highest quarter of earnings, so they need to be kind of evenly distributed. And they must have a minimum of total wages of $4,900 in that entire year. Next slide, please. The way that we determine the weekly and the maximum benefit amounts is listed below. The claim is open for 52 weeks. The weekly benefit amount is 4% of the highest quarter of base period wages, but it cannot go above the maximum that's set by law. Right now, our maximum is $651. The maximum benefit amount is the lesser of either 26 weeks times the weekly benefit amount or 30% of all the base period wages. And I know both of those are kind of complicated, but not to fear, that's something we do on our end. You don't have to do the math. When an initial claim is filed, we send out a statement of wages, and that shows all of the base period employers that we've got for an individual. It shows it broken down by quarter for that base period. It shows the weekly benefit amount and the maximum benefit amount. And it also shows the entire 52-week benefit year so that a claimant knows what we're looking at. And that is the claimant's opportunity to make sure that we have all the wages, that they were accurately reported. And if they're not, fill that out and return it to us with proof so that we can investigate. Next slide, please. All right. As you are doing the continued claims every week, you have to make sure that you're reporting any earnings, vacation, sick, severance, or other types of pay. They must be reported during the week that they are earned, no matter when they're paid. When reporting wages that are earned with an employer, you must report the gross amount that's earned plus any tips. And things like National Guard duty must also be reported. If you're mowing lawns for your friend, you've got to report that. Any type of earnings that you're making, make sure you let us know. When you report self-employment, report the net amount that you earned, which would be doing that gig type of work. If you are receiving vacation, sick, severance pay, other payments that can affect benefits, make sure you also report those in the full dollar amount during the week in which you receive them. And if a payment equals or exceeds your weekly benefit amount, you won't be paid benefits for that week. However, that money stays in your account to use later on during that claim. Next slide, please. And back over to Kate.
Let's take a look at some other eligibility requirements. Next slide. Make sure that you report everything to the division. If you're working while you're collecting benefits and you quit that job or you get terminated, that needs to be reported to us. That would then go through an adjudicator review to determine if that employer is the most recent employer. We have to address that separation issue, and those could be potentially disqualifying depending on the reason for separation. And then we will send notification to the claimant and the employer by mail. And that decision lets you know whether benefits have been allowed or denied based on the separation. Next slide. Job attachment. That is determined by the UI division and verified with the employer that the claimant is returning to work with. And the criteria is the claimant must be returning to work within 12 weeks of the claim effective date, returning to full-time or for the same number of hours that they worked in the base period, and that employer has to have paid at least 50% of those base period wages. Union attachment is also determined by the UI division and verified with the union. In order to be union attached, a claimant must be registered with a labor union, their dues paid in full, they're in good standing with the union, and they are registered for work with the union's hiring hall, generally called on the out of work list. The duration and requirements, both statutes last for 12 consecutive weeks from the effective date of the claim. After 12 weeks, the claimant must register for work and start meeting in the work search requirements. Next slide. You must be able and available to your employer and or union at all times during the attachment period. The employer union must have a way to contact the claimant at all times. And the claimant must be able to start work at any time during the attachment period if called back to work. And they also must continue to submit their continued claims weekly for payment via the internet. Timely submissions crucial to avoid payment delay or disqualification of benefits. Next slide. Any of the unemployment laws and policies can be found online at legisweb.state.ys. That's legisweb.state.wys. And they can also be found online at the Secretary of State's website, soswy.state.wy.us. Next slide. Program integrity. This is something that we really focus on, and to uphold that, we do the eligibility reviews, verify work searches, review all able and available issues. We also have benefit accuracy measurements. Those are federally mandated, and they monitor for accuracy of paid and denied claims. We have benefit timeliness quality. Those are also federally mandated, and they monitor the accuracy and the timeliness of our determinations. And payment benefit control, or BPC. They use wage cross match. So if you're working and not reporting wages, they will catch those on a cross match. State Directory of New Hire, National Directory of New Hires, and they use those to detect and recover any overpayments. They also develop any fraud cases for prosecution and pursue any tips or leads that we may receive. Next slide. One of DWS's top priorities is in preventing fraud. Attempting to claim benefits with false statements can lead to the loss of benefits, fines, or even jail time. Fraud includes not reporting hours and wages while collecting benefits, not reporting job information, including part-time commission, temporary, independent contracts, self-employment, or any cash jobs, providing incorrect information about job separation, receiving services instead of payment for work, faking a job search effort, not reporting a refusal of a job offer, not reporting school attendance while receiving benefits, or using someone else's name or social security number to work and collect benefits. Next slide. To avoid any type of getting yourself in any fraudulent situation, make sure that you're correctly entering personal identification information. Create security questions and a password. Claimant information is verified with the Social Security Administration. Identity verification is required for every new unemployment claim. We will ask you to verify your identification through either ID.me or in person at a local workforce. And answer any security questions correctly to access any information on the website or with DWS staff. Next slide. Claim reviews. Every unemployment claim is reviewed by DWS staff before it becomes established. Our IT department monitors queries on IP addresses. They look for any suspicious activity. If someone's filing a lot of claims from the same IP address, they will pick those up. And our fraud units compare unemployment and wage information with national and state databases. They also access prison records to check if claimants are incarcerated while filing for benefits. Next slide. Anytime you have any questions or problems with your claim, we can be reached at 307-473-3789. Again, those phone hours are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Wednesday from 8 a.m. until noon. Never hesitate to call us. We're here to answer and help you through any problems you run into with your claim. And that concludes benefits.
Thank you, Kay. Again, I'm Jonna. I am the Senior Hearing Officer for the Appeals Division, and I'm here to help you navigate the unemployment insurance appeals process. Next slide, please. This is an overview of the appeals process, which begins by you as a claimant receiving a deputy's determination from the Unemployment Insurance Division, usually titled Notice of Benefits Decision. If you or your previous employer disagrees with that determination as to whether you have been allowed or denied benefits, then either party can file an appeal of that, which then comes to the Appeals Division, where we'll process that and schedule it for an appeals hearing. We will mail to both parties a notice of telephone hearing to your address of record, which is why it's so important to keep that updated with the Unemployment Insurance Division. Parties will confirm participation in the hearing and send in evidence if they have any. We'll dive into that later in the presentation. And then your hearing will be conducted by an appeals hearing officer. After they receive testimony and evidence from both parties in that hearing, they will then issue a written decision, which will also be sent out by mail to both you and your former employer. And if either party does not like that decision from the appeals hearing officer, they can file an appeal to the Unemployment Insurance Commission. Next slide, please. So to dive into all of these steps a little bit deeper, the initial step is to file an appeal. You can complete the appeal form, which is on the back of the deputy's determination. An appeal does need to be in writing. And you're going to essentially be telling the Appeals Division why you disagree with the deputy's determination. You'll send that completed appeal form to the Appeals Division within 28 days. There is an appeal by date on the determination. It's very important that you meet that deadline to preserve your appeal rights. There's a variety of ways that you can submit that completed form. The form itself does have a QR code that you can scan, or you can go directly online to wyui.wyo.gov. You will need an account created in order to file your appeal there. You can go ahead and email appeals at dws.appeals@wyo.gov by either completing the attached form and putting it as an attachment to your email, or you can simply take all of the information that the form has asked you to complete and type that into the body of the email. You can also send the completed form by fax to the Appeals Division at 307-235-3215. Send it to us by mail at the P.O. box that's listed, or you can certainly hand deliver it to the Workforce Center in Casper or to your nearest Workforce Center. The STAR has an important update. Again, a reminder to keep your address updated, and if you are intending to use an attorney or a representative, have them send in an entry of appearance prior to the hearing, and a reminder there's no need to send any evidence with your appeal. Next slide, please. This is an example of a notice of benefits decision that you'll be sent from the Unemployment Insurance Division that will tell you whether you are approved or denied for your benefits. Next slide, please. And here is an explanation on that form of your appeal rights that gives you all of the information as to how you can file the appeal. And again, it's not listed here, but you can go ahead and file that via email as well. This form does have a fax number to the Unemployment Insurance Division and not directly to the Appeals Division. That is okay. If you fax it to the Unemployment Insurance Division, they will go ahead and forward it on directly to appeals for you. Next slide, please. And this is the actual form itself. Again, it has a fax number to the Unemployment Insurance Division, and it's just asking for your basic information. Do please note it does ask for a telephone number. However, that is simply if we have any questions that we need answered in order to file your appeal. You will be required to provide a telephone number, excuse me, again, to confirm your participation in the hearing after your notice of telephone hearing is mailed to you. Again, it shows a reason for you to provide as to why you disagree with the deputy's determination. And you can also let us know on this form if you need any accommodations in order to participate in the hearing, such as the need of a language interpreter or a sign language interpreter. Next slide, please. Once we receive your appeal, we'll process it. That typically takes the appeals division 1 to 2 days after we receive it to get it set up and then schedule the hearing. After it is scheduled, you will receive a notice of telephone hearing that is mailed to the address of record of yourself as well as your former employer. That notice will let you both know of the date and time of the scheduled hearing. Now, Wyoming state law does require that we provide you at least a 10-day notice period. We typically try to use around 13 days because we understand that there can be some postal service delays, and we certainly don't want you to miss your hearing because of that. We do recommend if you are the party that has filed the appeal and you have not received a notice within 2 weeks, please give the appeals division a call to get a status on the processing. Now, if you receive the notice and you realize that the scheduled date and time of your hearing does not work for you, you can go ahead and submit a request to reschedule the hearing. That will be considered and ultimately decided by the assigned hearing officer to your appeal. Please note the hearing officer will not approve a rescheduling of the hearing just for your convenience. It does need to be something legitimate, such as you have returned to work and you're working that day. If you've had a doctor's appointment that has been scheduled for a significant period of time, things along those lines. We do recommend that you submit that request to reschedule as far in advance as possible, and it must be received prior to the scheduled date and time of the hearing. Please note as well that if that request to reschedule the hearing is not approved and you as the claimant are not the party that filed the appeal and your former employer does confirm their participation, the hearing will take place as scheduled without your participation. Next slide, please. To confirm your participation in the hearing, it's a matter of simply completing and returning the telephone hearing information form that is sent with your notice of telephone hearing. If you're completing that by hand, please write legibly and clearly so that the hearing officer has your exact telephone number. You are also welcome to type that information. On the form, it does ask for a primary contact, that is you as the claimant. And if you wish to have any secondary witnesses or other people participate in the hearing, you'll also have a chance to provide their first and last name and a contact telephone number for each person. And you'll return that form to us either by email, by fax, by mail, but please ensure that you have enough time for it to be delivered to us prior to your scheduled hearing date and time. You can also hand deliver that to your nearest workforce center. And you're also welcome to call us at the Appeals Division, 307-235-3299, and confirm your participation verbally. Next slide, please. This is an example of the notice of telephone hearing that you'll receive in the mail. It will also give you additional instructions indicating that you must furnish your telephone number. It includes a very important reminder of do not assume that the Appeals Division has your telephone number. You may have provided it to us previously for a different reason. You may have provided it to the Unemployment Insurance Division, but you must provide it specifically in preparation to confirm participation in your hearing. You'll also see further on this page that it will give you your appeal number, the hearing date, the hearing time, who your presiding hearing officer will be, and the name of your former employer, as well as the issue that's going to be addressed in that hearing. Next slide, please. Here's your telephone hearing information page. This is the form that you'll return to us if you wish to confirm your participation in a written format. The first highlighted line in yellow asks you to verify whether you are the employer or the claimant. And then it will give you a place to provide your own primary contact information, as well as, again, a place for your witness information. At the very bottom of this form, you will notice it has a place for you to list whether you wish to have an attorney or an individual represent you in the hearing. Please know that is not required. However, if you choose to use one, that will be at your own expense. This is also a reminder on this form that if you do wish to have any documents submitted to the hearing officer for the hearing, this would be any evidence. You must provide those prior to the hearing. This indicates that you can fax or mail them. We'll also accept those via email or hand delivery, and you must also supply them to the opposing party, in this case, your former employer as well. Next slide, please. So to provide your evidence, again, we need it before your hearing, and prior to does mean that you need to provide it to the employer with sufficient time to review that evidence before the hearing. We do recommend that to get it to the employer that you utilize a method that will let you confirm that it has indeed been delivered to the former employer. And what compromises or constitutes rather evidence? Well, that's really anything that you think is going to help you prove your case. So that can be if you have your copies of any documented verbal warnings or written warnings you received while you were employed. If you had been on a performance improvement plan, if you have your time card records, any doctor's notes, statements from witnesses if they're not able to actually participate in the hearing with you, copies of your former employer's employee handbook or specific relevant policies from that handbook, drug test results, screenshots of text messages between you and your employer, emails, etc. You may also have audio or video files that are relevant to your separation from employment, and you may consider sending those to us as well. Next slide, please. So to participate in your telephone hearing, the first step is to prepare for that hearing. With your notice, we will send you a hearing checklist that will have questions that are samples or examples of what the hearing officer may ask you in that hearing. It's a good idea to go through those questions and write down your answers so that those are readily available to you during the hearing. Be in a quiet, distraction-free environment without any background noise. This means if you have young children, hopefully being able to find someone to watch those. If you're back to work, we ask that you be in a quiet location, such as an office or a conference room, where any of the new employer's noise won't be disruptive to the hearing participants. If you do wish to have secondary witnesses, they do need to be in a separate location from yourself. That means either in a separate room or in a completely separate building. And the reason for that is that they cannot overhear any portion of your initial testimony. Turn off any of your phones or alarms that you may have with you at the time of the hearing. Make sure that you have any notes and your copies of evidence with you. And of course, be ready to accept the hearing officer's call at the scheduled date and time of the hearing. Now, during the hearing, it's very important that you speak clearly and with sufficient volume, because the hearing officer not only needs to hear you, but the employer's participant, if they are participating in the hearing, will also need to hear you. When the hearing officer or the opposing party asks you any questions, answer those as completely as you can, but without giving a lot of extra information. And we do ask that you be respectful to all hearing participants by not interrupting, not talking over others. And we understand that this might be difficult, but try to keep your emotions under control. It's perfectly okay that if you do need a moment, go ahead and ask your hearing officer to give you a moment for that. Next slide, please. This is a copy of your hearing checklist that is sent with your notice. Again, it gives you very specific instructions on how to prepare for your hearing. And at the bottom of this form is all of the Appeals Division contact information all in one place for you. Next slide, please. And this is the back of that same checklist that again gives you additional information about your hearing, and this is the list of sample questions that you may be asked. Do be advised that these are just samples, and the hearing officer may have a slightly different wording for each of these questions. Next slide, please. So what happens after your hearing? Well, the hearing officer is going to issue you a written decision by mail to your address of record shortly after the hearing. The hearing officer is not going to consider any testimony or evidence after they have closed the hearing. So it's very important that you provide anything that you think is applicable to your separation from employment or to the issue that's being addressed in your hearing before and during the hearing. Only evidence that is entered as an exhibit into the record is considered by the hearing officer when they're making their final decision. They will not have any contact with you or your former employer outside of the hearing. And again, we'll mail that decision to your address of record, and you then will have 28 days from the mailing date of the decision to file an appeal to the Unemployment Insurance Commission if you disagree with the hearing officer's decision. Please remember as well that if the decision is in your favor, your employer, or your former employer rather, will also have the same right to file an appeal to the commission within 28 days. Next slide, please. Your written decision will also give you further appeal rights. And again, that includes filing to the Unemployment Insurance Commission. Those folks will add the appeal to their docket. They do meet once per month. If after they have met and they issue a decision on your appeal, if you disagree with it, you can file an appeal with district court. If you disagree with the district court decision, you can file an appeal with the Wyoming Supreme Court. And if you disagree with that decision, you can file an appeal with the United States Supreme Court. That decision is final. Next slide, please. So some questions that the Appeals Division gets asked frequently includes, what do I do if I miss the hearing officer's phone call? Well, immediately call us. We do need that call within 5 minutes of the scheduled start time of the hearing to 307-235-3299. If you are later than 5 minutes, or you miss the hearing entirely, you can request the hearing be reopened. Your written decision will contain steps on how to do that. Those requests to reopen the hearing must be submitted to us in writing and contain the specific reason as to why you missed the hearing. It is the hearing officer's discretion if your request is granted. If it is, you'll receive a new notice of telephone hearing with the new hearing date and time. And if the hearing officer does not grant your request, they will send you a denial decision by mail. Next slide, please. If you get disconnected from the phone call during the middle of the hearing, immediately call the Appeals Division so that our administrative staff can get you reconnected to the hearing. If you are sick or otherwise unavailable on the day of the hearing, again, immediately contact the Appeals Division and ask for the hearing to be rescheduled. Again, that is at the hearing officer's discretion whether your request will be approved or denied. You may wonder if you can have a hearing in person instead of by telephone. And those can be granted on a case-by-case basis. That is at the discretion of the Appeals Division. So you are encouraged to submit that request as soon as possible and provide full details as to why an in-person hearing is needed. You can do that in writing through any of the other methodologies that I've discussed in this presentation, or you're welcome to give us a phone call as well and provide the information directly to one of our staff members. Next slide, please. Here is all of our Appeals Division contact information. You will note that there are 2 separate telephone numbers listed. Either one of those will reach us. Again, our email address, fax number, mail, and our local address here in Casper. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonna and Amy and Kay. We do have some questions. I'll go ahead and I'll ask the appeals question first since we just got done with Jonna here. Is the evidence provided to UI from an employer provided to the claimant prior to the hearing?
It is supposed to be, but to fully clarify that, that is the responsibility of the employer to provide that to you as the claimant. If the employer only provides the evidence to the appeals division, the hearing officer will address that during the hearing to determine, did the employer send it to the claimant? If not, the hearing officer may do a continuation of the hearing to allow for that evidence to be provided. If you as the claimant have a working email address that you're willing to provide, and the hearing officer can get it to you during the hearing through that methodology, they may choose to do that. But to be very clear, if we receive in the appeals division evidence from the employer, we do not automatically forward that to you as the claimant.
Okay, thank you. This next question is for claims, so for Kay or Amy. When will the amount of weekly claims change?
I'll go ahead and take that one. It changes on the first Sunday in July. So this year it will be on July 5th. And that is the same every single year going forward. That amount is based, it's 55% of the average weekly wage. That's how we determine what that maximum is.
Okay. Very good. And I am not seeing any other questions. Everybody out there, if you come up with a question, go ahead and give it to us, and I'll just do my closing spiel right now. But like I said, if you have questions, let me know and we'll go back to questions. Before we do wrap up, I want to say thank you to Amy, Kay, and Jonna, and to everyone who attended as well. Thank you for joining us today. I do hope that this session has helped make unemployment insurance a little clearer and given you some practical tools to stay on top of your claims. Remember that staying organized and knowing your responsibilities and using the resources available can really take the stress out of the process and give you more control as you move forward. So saying that, do us a favor and let us know what you think about today's session. We're going to get a survey link into the chat right now. And we'd like to hear how you think we did. How was today's session? In the next day or two, we will also, so that's today, tomorrow, I bet it's going to be tomorrow, we'll email you the recording and the slides along with this survey. And while you're completing the survey, we're going to post another link, which was going to allow you to register for our next presentation, which is on May 21st. So here just in 2 weeks. This is UI Taxes Made Simple, a practical guide for Wyoming employers. So unemployment insurance taxes are a key part of doing business in Wyoming, but they don't have to be confusing. This virtual training series offers a clear, practical overview of UI tax essentials for Wyoming employers. You will learn how to file quarterly taxes, update contact information, access past filings, find your tax rate, and review credits or payments. You'll also explore the tools available in in YUI and gain straightforward tips to help you manage your responsibilities with confidence and ease. And a comment from Tara in the audience. She's just stressing the importance of State of Wyoming HR to get back to the paperwork that UI asks for. And that sounds like that is geared specifically towards State of Wyoming employees, employers, State of Wyoming HR. So thank you for that. Let's see, register link. We've got the register link. I don't see any other questions. So thank you, everyone, very much. I keep forgetting to advance there. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you hopefully in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.